What if everything you've been told about attraction is backwards? You've heard it 1,000 times. Just be nice. Show her how much you care. Be consistent. Be available. Be there. But here's the brutal truth no one wants to admit. The more you chase, the less she wants you. And not because she's cruel or shallow, but because of something far deeper, wired into human nature. Think about this. When was the last time you obsessed over something that came too easily? A text that arrived instantly? A compliment that felt automatic? A person who never made you wonder, what are they thinking? Exactly. You didn't. Now flip it. Remember that one person who barely reacted when you walked in the room? Who spoke with quiet certainty, never begged for your attention, and seemed completely fine whether you were around or not? Yeah, that's the one your mind kept circling back to, even when you told yourself you shouldn't care. This isn't manipulation, it's psychology, and it's been understood for over 2,000 years, not by pickup artists, but by the greatest minds in history, the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to get likes. Epictetus didn't practice silence to play games. They cultivated inner strength so unshakable that their very presence commanded respect without saying a word. And today, that same energy is what makes a man unforgettable in a world drowning in noise, neediness, and performative validation. If you've ever felt invisible despite giving everything, if you've ever wondered why the guy who says the least gets the most attention, this video will change how you see yourself and how the world sees you. Stay with me to the very end, because the final point reveals the exact mental shift that transforms you from just another guy into someone she can't stop thinking about. And if you're serious about mastering attraction through inner strength, hit subscribe now. What we're about to unpack isn't just dating advice. It's a blueprint for unshakable personal power. Now, let's begin. 1. The mirror of self-sufficiency. Let's start with the core engine behind why emotional restraint is so magnetic. Self-sufficiency. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to replace. Because your worth isn't tied to anyone's approval. Epictetus, one of the founding Stoics, put it bluntly: no man is free who is not master of himself. Think about that for a second. Most men today are emotionally dependent on external validation, especially from women. One unread message sends them into overdrive. A delayed reply triggers self-doubt. They mold their tone, their schedule, even their opinions, just to stay in her good graces. But the Stoic man, he doesn't orbit others. He centers himself. His calm isn't indifference, it's inner alignment. He has goals that matter more than being liked. He has standards that don't bend when someone frowns. And because his sense of value comes from within, he doesn't panic when attention fades. And that's exactly what flips the script in female psychology. When a woman senses that your emotional state doesn't hinge on her, that you're just as content alone as you are with her, it creates what psychologists call a cognitive gap. Her brain starts working overtime. Why isn't he chasing me like the others? What makes him so sure of himself? That gap becomes fertile ground for obsession, not because you're withholding love, but because you're demonstrating something rare: emotional sovereignty. In nature, predators don't flinch. Prey does. A man who reacts instantly to every signal, texting back too fast, over-explaining, seeking reassurance, sends subconscious cues of low status. Not because he's a bad person, but because he's broadcasting neediness. But the self-sufficient man, he moves like a mountain, unmoved, unshaken. He replies when it aligns with his rhythm, not hers. He walks away if values aren't respected, not because he's cold, but because he respects himself too much to beg for basic decency. And paradoxically, that's when attraction ignites. She doesn't want a doormat. She wants a partner whose presence feels like shelter, not someone who needs her to hold him together. So ask yourself, are you building a life so compelling that a woman would feel lucky to step into it? Or are you shrinking yourself, hoping she'll choose you out of pity or convenience? The Stoic doesn't try to be chosen. He becomes the kind of man worth choosing and lets the rest fall away. 2. The law of contrast and mystery. Here's something most men never realize. Attraction isn't created by how much you give. It's created by what you withhold, not out of cruelty, not out of games, but out of intentionality. Stoicism teaches us a powerful principle, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. A Stoic man mentally rehearses loss so thoroughly that he's never destabilized by it. He knows he could lose his job, his status, even the woman he loves, and still stand tall. That inner readiness radiates as calm, and that calm becomes magnetic. Why? Because mystery is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Think about it. In a world where everyone broadcasts their every thought on social media, where DMs are flooded with, "Hey, beautiful," and men perform like circus animals for a sliver of attention, what stands out? Silence. Space. Unreadable depth. Robert Greene, in The Laws of Human Nature, puts it perfectly. We are drawn to what we cannot have, not because we're selfish, but because the human mind is wired to assign value to scarcity. If you're always available, always explaining, always smiling on cue, you become background noise. But the Stoic man, he's an anomaly. At a party, while others compete for attention with loud stories and flashy watches, he listens. He speaks only when he has something worth saying. He doesn't lean in eagerly when someone flirts. He meets her gaze, nods slightly, and returns to his conversation. And guess who she can't stop thinking about later? It's not arrogance. It's selective presence. He doesn't reward average effort with his full attention. He doesn't hand out validation like candy. And because of that, every word he does offer feels earned, like a gift, not an obligation. This triggers what psychologists call effort justification. The more mental or emotional energy someone invests in understanding you, the more they value you. She starts filling in the blanks herself. Why doesn't he chase me? What's going on in his head? What would it take to really get close to him? Her imagination does your work for you, and it always paints a better picture than reality ever could. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of ourselves we hide because it doesn't seek approval. The Stoic man isn't repressing emotion. He's integrated it. He doesn't need to prove his worth, so he doesn't perform. And that quiet integrity signals one thing: I am whole on my own. And that's the ultimate turn-on. She doesn't want distant men. She wants men who are already complete. 3. Emotional stability as a signal of leadership. Let's cut through the noise. Women don't fall for men who need saving. They fall for men who can lead through chaos. And in today's world, emotional stability isn't just attractive, it's rare. Most men are walking mood thermometers. One ambiguous text sends them spiraling into overanalysis. A canceled date feels like rejection. A woman's silence becomes proof they're not enough. They react, fast, loud, and often desperate. But the Stoic man? He operates on a different frequency. He understands the core Stoic distinction Marcus Aurelius lived by. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When a woman pulls away, tests boundaries, or acts cold, not to be cruel, but to gauge his response, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't demand answers. He doesn't flood her with, "Did I do something wrong?" messages. He simply says, "That's okay. Let me know when you're ready." And he means it. Why does this trigger obsession? Because her subconscious is scanning for leadership, not dominance, not control, but unshakable calm under pressure. Think of it like this. If two ships are caught in a storm, which one do you want to be on? The one rocking wildly, crew panicking, captain shouting orders in panic? Or the one cutting steadily through the waves, helm steady, lights unwavering? She's not choosing a boyfriend. She's choosing a co-captain for life's storms. Modern dating is full of men who crumble at the first sign of friction. The Stoic man stands firm, not because he's indifferent, but because he's anchored in purpose. His identity isn't tied to her momentary mood. He knows love shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells, and neither should his self-worth. This creates what psychologists call emotional safety through strength. She feels free to be herself because he won't collapse if she's moody, busy, or uncertain. And paradoxically, that freedom makes her want to connect more deeply. Because now, her attention isn't driven by guilt or obligation. It's driven by genuine desire. Epictetus warned, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Every time she sees him choose peace over panic, clarity over chaos, she subconsciously registers, "This man can handle anything, including me at my worst." And that's the ultimate trust builder. 4. The paradox of desire. Here's a truth that flips modern dating on its head. The more you try to be desired, the less desirable you become. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. In human psychology, desire thrives in absence, not abundance. Arthur Schopenhauer nailed it when he said life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. In relationships, that pendulum moves between chasing and losing interest. Most men get stuck on one end. They chase until she's bored, or they disappear until she's gone. But the Stoic man? He stops the pendulum entirely. He doesn't feed the cycle. He doesn't flood her inbox with "good morning" texts. He doesn't overcompliment to prove his interest. He doesn't fill every silence with noise just to feel secure. And that restraint creates something powerful: psychological space. When you're constantly present, physically, emotionally, digitally, you leave no room for her imagination to work. But when you step back, even slightly, her mind rushes to fill the void. Why hasn't he texted? Was it something I said? What is he doing right now? That mental activity, that's where obsession is born, not from your words, but from your absence. Stoicism teaches us to master what's within our control and release what isn't. A Stoic man knows he can't control whether she feels drawn to him, but he can control how much space he gives her to feel it. So he practices selective presence. He shows up fully when values align, energy matches, and respect is mutual. But when things go off-center, he withdraws, not as punishment, but as preservation. This isn't ghosting. It's boundary setting with dignity. And it triggers what behavioral psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that makes slot machines addictive. When rewards are unpredictable, the brain becomes hyper-focused on earning them. She doesn't know when he'll reply. She doesn't know what will earn his full attention. So she invests more effort trying to figure it out. But here's the key. He's not playing games. He's simply living by a code. His attention is a currency. and he only spends it where it's valued. As Epictetus warned, don't seek for everything to happen as you wish, but wish for everything to happen as it does, and you'll be at peace. That peace is magnetic, because a man who isn't anxious about being liked radiates a quiet confidence that cuts through the noise of needy validation. 5. The awakening of the inner warrior. This is where everything changes, because up until now, we've talked about behavior, calmness, silence, boundaries, but none of it works if it's just a performance. Real magnetism isn't faked, it's forged. And that forging happens in one place, your inner world. Most men try to act cold. They read a few quotes, stop texting back for 2 days, and think they've unlocked Stoicism. But women aren't fooled. Human intuition is razor sharp when it comes to detecting desperation disguised as indifference. The Stoic man isn't cold because he's playing a role. He's calm because his life is already on fire, with purpose. He's not sitting around waiting for her to text. He's in the gym refining his discipline. He's reading philosophy that reshapes how he sees suffering. He's building a business, mastering a craft, or mentoring someone who looks up to him. His energy is invested in becoming, not in convincing. And that's why he doesn't chase. Not out of spite, not out of ego, but because he has no emotional bandwidth for games. Marcus Aurelius didn't write Meditations to impress anyone. He wrote it to stay grounded while ruling an empire. His strength wasn't performative, it was necessary. And that necessity radiated as unshakable presence. That's the inner warrior, a man whose mission is so compelling that romantic validation becomes secondary. And here's the psychological twist. The moment you stop needing her attention, you become worthy of it. Why? Because obsession isn't born from what you say, it's born from what you represent. She doesn't want a man who's emotionally available but spiritually empty. She wants a man who's so aligned with his path that being with him feels like stepping into a higher frequency of existence. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about transmuting it into action. Anger becomes fuel for discipline. Loneliness becomes space for reflection. Rejection becomes data, not identity. This is the ultimate shift. From how do I get her to want me to am I living in a way that only the right woman could ever keep up? And when you live like that, something remarkable happens. You stop being a satellite orbiting her moods and become a sun with your own gravity. Women don't become obsessed with cold men. They become obsessed with men who are so deeply engaged in their own evolution that they forget to seek permission to exist. 6. The discipline of non-reaction. Let's be crystal clear. Obsession isn't triggered by what you say. It's triggered by what you don't do. Most men believe attraction is built through words, compliments, confessions, constant check-ins. But female psychology responds far more powerfully to behavioral silence. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of non-reaction. The refusal to be emotionally hijacked by tests, games, or uncertainty. Stoicism doesn't teach indifference. It teaches discernment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength manifests as stillness in the face of provocation. And that stillness, it's devastatingly attractive. Here's why. When a woman pulls back, flirts with someone else, or sends mixed signals, she's not being cruel. She's running an ancient survival algorithm. She's asking, can I trust this man under pressure? Will he crumble if I'm difficult? Will he abandon me if I'm not perfect? The average man fails instantly. He either retaliates, fine, I'll ignore you too, or collapses, please don't leave, I'll change. Both are forms of reactivity, Both scream emotional immaturity. But the Stoic man? He does nothing, not out of spite, but because his inner state isn't up for negotiation. He doesn't punish, he doesn't plead, he simply continues living with integrity. And that non-reaction creates a psychological vacuum so powerful, it pulls her back, not out of guilt, but out of awe. Think of it like gravity. Planets don't chase moons. They hold their position, and moons orbit them naturally. Your job isn't to convince her you're valuable. It's to be so centered that your presence alone alters her trajectory. This discipline requires brutal self-honesty. Are you staying calm because you've mastered your emotions? Or because you're pretending to be above it all while secretly seething inside? Women sense the difference instantly. True non-reaction comes from inner alignment, not suppression. Epictetus warned against confusing control with repression. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that hurts you. The Stoic man interprets her distance not as rejection, but as information. Maybe she's not aligned. Maybe she's working through her own wounds. Either way, it's not his emergency. And that's the ultimate turn-on, a man who treats drama like background noise. 7. Coldness as a reflection of inner order. Let's dismantle a dangerous myth right now. Coldness isn't emotional absence. It's emotional precision. The Stoic man isn't cold because he lacks feeling. He's cold because he refuses to let chaos dictate his expression. In a world where most men wear their emotions like open wounds, reacting impulsively to every text, comment, or glance, the man who responds with measured calm doesn't seem distant. He seems in control. And that control signals something primal: inner order. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire during plague, war, and betrayal, not by shouting louder, but by mastering the storm within. His coldness wasn't rejection, it was focus. And that same energy, applied today, makes you magnetic not in spite of your silence, but because of it. Here's how it works psychologically. When a woman interacts with emotionally chaotic men, those who swing from over-enthusiasm to passive aggression, her nervous system stays on high alert. She's constantly decoding, managing, soothing. But when she meets a man whose inner world is structured, predictable in its integrity, not in its availability, her subconscious relaxes. She thinks, with him, I don't have to walk on eggshells. He won't collapse if I'm honest. He won't punish me with silence if I need space. That safety, paired with strength, is intoxicating. Stoicism teaches that virtue is the only true good, and one of those virtues is sophrosyne: self-restraint, temperance, clarity of mind. The Stoic man doesn't withhold affection to manipulate. He withholds reactivity to preserve dignity. He knows that every impulsive text, every anxious call, every plea for reassurance chips away at his sovereignty. So instead, he cultivates what the Greeks called eudaimonia, flourishing through alignment with reason and purpose. His life runs on principles, not moods. And that consistency creates a gravitational field. Women don't become obsessed with men who are mysterious in a performative way. They become obsessed with men whose inner world is so coherent, so unshaken by external noise, that being near them feels like stepping into still water after a storm. This isn't about being unreadable. It's about being unshakable. There's a difference. You can be warm, kind, even playful, and still be cold in the Stoic sense. Unmoved by drama, undistracted by validation, undeterred by uncertainty. And that's the ultimate paradox. The more internally ordered you become, the more others want to orbit you. Let's be clear. Women don't obsess over cold men because they're emotionally absent. They obsess because those men are emotionally unshakable. Stoic calm isn't indifference, it's mastery. While most men chase validation, the Stoic man builds a life so grounded, so purpose-driven, that his silence speaks louder than any plea for attention ever could. This isn't about games. It's about integrity. When you stop letting someone else's moods dictate your peace, you become rare. And rarity breeds fascination. Your non-reaction isn't rejection. It's proof of inner order. In a world of emotional chaos, that stability feels like safety. And safety, paired with strength, is irresistible. The moment you stop worrying whether she's thinking of you is the moment she can't stop thinking of you. Not because you withheld love, but because you refused to trade your center for approval. So build your fortress. Guard your energy. Let your mission, not her moods, define your days. If this resonated, drop one word in the comments. Apatheia. Subscribe if you're done chasing and ready to become the prize. Stay calm, stay sovereign.